Everyone has been super excited for the release of the new Call of the Mountain, which brings us to Targon region, 89 new cards and 7 champions. With the amount of content coming our way with the release, it can be hard to know how good each card is going to be, including the new champions. In this video I will rank the new champions from worst to best. This video has been done in collaboration with Bomber TV. At number 7 is Nocture. This champion costs 4 mana, has the fearsome keyword, and has a Nightfall effect which grants an enemy vulnerable and gives all allies -1 power this round. It levels up when you attack with 5+ Nightfall allies. Nocture is weak, but it's not necessarily Nocturne's fault, but rather the fault of the Nightfall keyword. Nightfall is pretty awkward keyword to work around, and you need to play a card before it activates. If your deck was full of Nightfall cards, this means every turn you would have to sacrifice a Nightfall card to activate the other ones, so as you can see, there's some flaws in the theme which will obviously impact Nocture. This leads you to include less Nightfall cards, but then this also reduces consistency of the archetype and deck. So other than that, Nightfall cards, especially ones we got with Shadow Isles, have a very low floor and a not so high ceiling, which basically means cards without the bonus, which is the floor, is basically a very bad card, whilst the cards with the bonus activated, which we call the ceiling, is not actually worth the risk of getting that bonus. Overall, if you activate the Nightfall on Nocture, you can get a pretty threatening trade, and the leveled up version is probably okay with Miss Wraith's decks. The reasons I've just explained is why I feel Nocture is the least viable out the new meta champions, and will most likely need a buff next patch to be viable. At number 6 is Trundle. This champion costs 5 mana, has a regeneration keyword, and creates an ice pillar in hand when summoned. An ice pillar costs 8 mana, but refills 8 mana when summoned. When played and round start, it gives the strongest enemy vulnerable for the round, and additionally, Trundle levels up when an ice pillar is summoned. Trundle is the classic mid-range style, a big guy which is hard to remove thanks to regeneration, and the leveled up form is pretty threatening thanks to Overwhelm. Maybe we will see a Brawl Trundle deck focusing on permanent buffs, or maybe even a Trundle Taric following that same idea. Trundle's support cards are a bit lacking however, and the only notable one is Algar of the old ones, maybe granting regeneration and Overwhelm to a 5-drop like Verison Halfguard is actually pretty strong. Once Trundle's leveled up, the Ice Pillar will make him an unstoppable force which will remove every round the strongest unit through vulnerable, whilst dealing Overwhelm damage and basically making Trundle get always bigger with its leveled up effect, which gives him 1 damage for every 8+ mana unit you behold. This seems very strong, right? Actually, in reality it will come down to the point of the game where stats barely matter anymore, and he actually has no built-in protection to remove or utility to turn it around in any way, which makes me believe that he won't actually be a strong competitor in the meta, given that the champions we will talk about. For this reason, I'm ranking him number 6 out of the new champions, as I feel his win rate will be slightly higher than Nocture, but will be less reliant on needing a buff, but is still nowhere near the other champions on this list. At number 5 is Diana. This champion costs 2 mana, has the quick attack keyword, and has the Nightfall effect, which gives challenger to Diana. She levels up when you've activated Nightfall 4 times, and gains the upgraded effect that gives her 2 damage and challenger when herself or another card activates Nightfall. I feel Diana is far stronger than Nocture, the other Nightfall champion, but I still lack faith in the Nightfall mechanic for the reasons I've already discussed. Additionally, with only 2 health, she's quite fragile and can easily be taken out by a Mystic Shot for example. The level up condition is also far easier than Nocturne's, and the payoff is also slightly better, so you get a strong unit that does not rely on having to play other cards, which Nightfall decks will have a hard time doing, so it takes into account one of the main disadvantages the Nightfall archetype has. Overall, I think Diana is okay at best, and will need more support from other regions and archetypes due to the lack of Targon Nightfall. She could potentially combine with the Shadow Isles and Nocture, or the Targon mono deck like a Leona Diana Day and Night deck. Daybreak first, activating Nightfall afterwards. combining the weaknesses of both keywords and trying to turn them into strengths. For this reason, she ranks number 5, not the best, but absolutely not the worst. At number 4 is Leona. This champion costs 4 mana and has the Daybreak effect, which activates if she's the first card played that turn. If this activates, she stuns the strongest enemy. Leona levels up when you activate Daybreak 4 times and gets the upgraded effect to stun a card every time Daybreak is activated. Leona is a very defensive tool and actually compares to Twisted Fate, but has a much better body, pun intended, but less versatility of course. The greater potential obviously relies on her ability to level up, and the stun synergy obviously is with Yasuo, although Targon currently lacks the stun tools, which makes me question it a little bit more. Whilst obviously Nocture has a greater quantity of stun cards, therefore Yasuo is most likely going to be associated with Nocture and Swain at this stage in the meta. There's still combo potential though. You can curve out a Daybreak unit for the first 3 turns, and you can play Leona leveled up. On turn 5, Morning Light is incoming, stunning 5 units thanks to Leona's ability, and buffing your whole board, usually going for a win as soon as turn 5. Of course, this is the absolutely perfect scenario, but it does come later on in the game. This means that Yasuo would probably be leveled up and stunning all enemies across the board, and this would be more profitable in this case. Other pairings would be Diana, as we discussed already. Due to the combos and easier win condition, this is why Leona ranks number 4 on my list, as she has potential to be competitive in the right deck. In our bronze medal position at number 3 is Lulu. This champion costs 3 mana and has a support effect which gives a supported ally 4 power and health this round. She levels up when 3 allies have been supported and gains the effect, creating a fleeting help picks in hand every turn and gives allies 5/5 instead when supported. Lulu has a very easy level up, and she can even level up the turn she comes out. The most notable combos are combining her with cheap challengers like Fleet Feather Tracker or Flame Trompers. Getting a temporary 4/4 challenger by turn 3 means that you can remove whatever you like when it comes down in the early game. With a Demacia, a perfect start would be a Fleet Feather Tracker turn 1 into War Chef turn 2, take the open attack, then in turn 3 summon Lulu, and then keep going. Turn 4 Lulu levels up and the Fleet Tracker is 5/5 with Challenger. Later on, you can further shield him with Go Picks to make that cheap Challenger unit a killing machine. Instead, into Flame Chompers, it seems a little bit more difficult, but maybe Lulu and Ezreal with the discard mechanics, as Rummage cards like that for example are also activators for Ezreal, and getting Ezreal to 4/4 or 5/5 with Elusive can be very threatening. So those could be some interesting experimentations. If not those synergies, the most obvious ones are with Taric, which obviously we're going to discuss in a little bit as he's higher on this list. In our silver medal position, number 2 is Taric. This champion costs 4 mana and has the support effect that gives him and the supported ally tough, as well as duplicating any spells you cast on Taric as onto the ally too. When you've targeted or supported 7 allies, he levels up and his effect upgrades from granting tough to making the supported ally no longer to take damage or die that round. Taric is a great champion, but it's deceptively good, in the sense that most players will think of his leveled up effect potential. Instead, you should look more at him at playing his ability to place spells on the supported ally. On turn 6, with a 3 mana spell, you can play Taric, and a Blessing of Targon on him, making him a 5/7 with tough, which is very tough to remove. Sorry, that was awful bad wordplay. This would grant 3/3 to another ally, so let's say Mountain Sojourner, which is a very good target to buff. For 9 mana you would put 8-10 worth of stats, but as you cheated him out on 3 turns before turn 9 because of the spell mana, which will give you a huge early advantage. This is a simple concept. You could go with Taric into Noxus, so have cards like K to the Arm and Might for example, or Taric with Lulu, a fast mid-range which likes to go tall. or with Garen to get multiple allies and copy the spells that you casted on Taric multiple times during the same turn. So thanks to Garen's leveled up, Relentless Pursuit and Tatiana Crown Guard, you can just be rallying away and constantly be supported. There's just so many combo potentials here, so I can see a lot of meta decks involving Taric, and therefore he takes number 2 on this list. And our top gold medal position at number 1 is Aurelion Sol. This champion has Fury and Spell Shield keywords. Additionally, when you play it, it will invoke a Celestial card costing 7 or more mana and create a random Celestial card in the hand each round. When your allies have 20 or over power at the end of the round, he levels up and all your Celestial cards then start to cost 0. Aurelion Sol will completely define the meta, and he'll probably define the only control deck of the meta, as any other alternatives to this, even deep, simply will not be able to deal with the insane amount of value generation this archetype will have. Even in mid-range strategies like Taric support or the current Ashe Sejuani mid-range, which dominates the meta, will have a hard time against this, therefore aggro strategies will be built just to counter this deck. This archetype is only possible because Aurelion Sol, and it's probably the best example of a meta-defining card. But why is it so strong? Aurelion Sol is already at 10/10, which is very difficult to move through combat. Then it has Spell Shield, which means it requires at least 2 spells to be removed, and the only ones which currently can remove him are Vengeance, Runation, and Will of Iona, even if that's only temporary. Casting 2 spells to remove him costs on average 10 mana, which means that you can be playing him for free and make your opponents spend 2 cards, which they will have to have, and this is obviously not going to happen all the time, so a real threat. Even if you do manage to remove him, you've invoked a 7 cost Celestial, which are crazy strong. Therefore, you played Aurelion Sol for free and made your opponent spend 2 removals, and you got 1 insane card in the meantime. Absolute value generation. But what if they don't remove him? It's simply game over. Generating 1 insane card per turn is simply amazing, and you get to attack with him every turn, removing 1 unit per turn essentially. If he levels up, we reach a new level of insanity, in particular if you can get the 10 mana Celestial spell, which is very often what you can choose when you play Aurelion Sol. So when you played him leveled up, you get a 10 mana cost card for free, and obviously you're going to be playing Aurelion Sol for free. You've got the whole hand of Celestial cards. In other words, GG, you've won. This deck will be a very strong competitor, and it's possible just because of this fantastic champion. For this reason, he takes number 1, and I wouldn't be surprised if he receives a nerf in one form or another in the upcoming patch. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I personally cannot wait to try out each of the new champions in the different decks. So what new champion do you think will be the most powerful? This list was put together by Bomber TV, so please check him out. He's a Masters tier player and has a huge amount of experience with card games, so his analysis of these new champions is going to be absolutely top level. Thank you very much guys, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.